The storm door, where you can see this light is reflecting onto, is a door that sort of sits outside of the main door, and it sort of serves two purposes.
Okay.
Firstly, it's another barrier for burglars to have to overcome.
6 house objects I only used after moving to America. Curious to see what the objects are and why we don't use them in the UK. So it should be a really good video. Just before we jump into it, I'd really appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button. It massively helps out the channel. We're growing. Yeah, let's just jump in and press play.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to objects and stuff. Specifically, objects and stuff that you find around the house that I only encountered after moving to the United States.
I'm interested to see.
In previous videos, I gave you a tour of my first American house, as well as an exclusive look at my dusty garage. And so, if you want to join me on this journey of putting together this place and you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, do that now. In the meantime, come with me as we look at 6 housing objects that I only encountered after moving to the United States.
Curious.
It's locked again. 2 words, public toilets. And I know what you're thinking. Ooh, Lawrence, what have public toilets got to do with houses? And the answer is simple. Nothing. But they do very neatly lead me into my next point, so shut it. Because you've probably heard Brits like me moaning about the lack of privacy in American public toilets, because you've got that gap and everything.
Okay.
Well, when it comes to our respective houses, that dedication to privacy, or privacy, depending on how you say it, is reversed. What? How? Do British rooms have gaps in the door? No, I'm not talking about gaps, I'm talking about locks on the door. Furthermore, I'm not just talking about bathrooms, but several rooms in the house. In America, many rooms, and in particular bedrooms, will have a lock on the doorknob that looks a little bit like this. Growing up in Britain...
Wait, is that normal? You have locks on your bedroom doors? That's definitely not a thing in the UK.
I found these to be far less common, which is a shame because they just give you that peace of mind that somebody's not going to walk in on you while you're reading.
Although, I do want to say, we do have locks on bathroom doors. If you're in the toilet, in the bathroom, in the bath, in the shower, whatever... Yeah, there is locks on those doors. I've never been in a house that doesn't have a lock in the bathroom or in the toilet. But bedrooms? Yeah, I'm not used to locks on bedroom doors. Not too sure on that.
A book. And for lock completists, they might sometimes take the form of a button, but there might also be some sort of rotating lock mechanism that looks like this. So to recap, while Americans might not value public toilet privacy, the opposite is true with bedrooms. Sometimes Britain and America seem like alternate versions of each other. And perhaps one of the finest examples of this can be found in the delivery of post. Except Americans don't call it post, they call it mail. And while us Brits like to distinguish between a mailbox on the street, in other words a post box, and a residential mailbox, aka a letterbox in your door, us Americans call this a mailbox and this a mailbox. It's all a bit confusing. Thankfully, in this video, I'm just talking about this. To Americans, this low-shaped contraption has just simply been a way of life since the day they were born. Perhaps some Americans don't even give them a second thought. But to people like me who grew up in a different country with different mailboxes, there's a certain charm to them. After all, the only time that we get to see these outside of living here is in the movies. Oh look, here's Kiefer Sutherland playing mailbox baseball in Stand By Me.
I've got to say, you do see them around. There's certain houses, some people like having them. If you live in a rural area and your house is like all the way down a path, you might see them outside because it saves the postman going all the way down to their house. But other than that, yeah, in towns, in cities, it's going to go through the letterbox. But it's always been something interesting in films, and you always notice it in a film because it's not something we have.
It's Forrest Gump and the kid from The Sixth Sense, framed by a gorgeous line of mailboxes while the kid is too busy looking at Bubba, Jenny and Forrest's mum in the distance. Here's a mailbox playing a key role in a Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock film that sadly isn't Speed, but a film you don't remember called The Lake House. And here's a pair of wayward vandals graffitiing a mailbox in Up. It's been a while since I've seen that film, but I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here. The point is, American movies have this uncanny knack of making things seem almost magic, even things as simple as this. And as somebody who, for the past 14 years, has only lived in rented American accommodation, I'd been used to picking up my mail from what was essentially a glorified high school locker. This represents my first proper American mailbox, and I feel like I've finally arrived. In the past, I've told you about how during the summertime it's useful on American houses to have a bug shield. That way you can open your windows, or in this case, your door. And in theory, this makes it harder for bees and mosquitoes and all the other insects to get into your house. Doesn't seem to work, but the theory's good. But one thing I haven't spoken about is winter time, because when the temperatures plummet to minus 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, there aren't really many bugs trying to get in anyway. Instead, you have to protect your door from the elements. And that's where the storm door comes in. Sorry, I don't have much room here. Can I switch places? The storm door, where you can see this light is reflecting onto, is a door that sort of sits outside of the main door, and it sort of serves two purposes. Firstly, it's another barrier for burglars to have to overcome. And secondly, when you've got frost and snow and rain...
Wait, so is this a normal thing in America? Yeah, we don't have that in the UK.
It sort of protects this door from getting ruined by those weather elements. And in addition to storm doors, you also have storm windows, which sort of do the same thing for windows that this does for the doors. And that's really it, because we don't have storms quite of the severity that you might experience here in the Midwest. Storm doors and storm windows aren't really that common in Britain, hence why they made it onto this list. Hello, what's this? A fan outside of my house? Might have to put in a restraining order.
I've got to say, AC, when we do have a hot day in the UK, when we do, oh my God, I wish we had AC, because it's just overpowering heat sometimes. And we got like fans and stuff. It just don't do it. You know, AC in your house, I think you guys are so lucky to have it.
Seriously, I did have to do that 3 years ago, so keep your distance. In previous videos, you've heard me talk to death about how American homes have air conditioning and British homes just don't. And so I don't want to dwell too much on what happens with air conditioning inside the house, but rather outside. Because you see, for the first time since I moved to the United States, the air conditioning in my home is entirely central air. In other words, the aircon is built entirely into the house instead of me having to install window units, which is great. And because of that, we have this thing, which I haven't really learned the name of. Perhaps it's a generator of some kind. Anyway, what it does is it sits outside, the fans spin around, and it creates air connage. And the outsides of many houses will feature one of these throughout the United States. I have heard that it requires a little bit of maintenance and cleaning, so after this video goes out, I will be reading all about that with a hot bath. And so we go from fans outside my house to fans above my bed. Seriously, don't get any ideas. I am married. But in much of the United States, just as with air conditioning, ceiling fans are found in most houses. Now, for the past 15 years in a variety of rented American apartments...
I mean, I've been to a lot of places that have got ceiling fans. I had a ceiling fan for a little bit in my bedroom when I was growing up. Trying to think places now that I've seen it, but I have seen many ceiling fans. It is a common thing in the UK. There was a little period where everybody just decided to get one, but we do definitely have ceiling fans in the UK.
Complexes. I've always had ceiling fans that had a chain that you pulled to get the fan going. But now with the acquisition of my first American house, things work a little bit differently. It's doing it. That was a trick. I was actually using a remote control. Still cool though, isn't it? Literally.
Devastating.
I've just realised it's winter and this should not be on. Remember in my last video when I showed you around my garage and we found this spare gate hanging around in the rafters? Well, it turns out this isn't a spare gate, but a missing one. Since I announced that I'd become a United States citizen and bought my first American house, some of you sent me messages along the lines of, "Oh, well done, Lawrence, you are living the American dream." But last time I checked, the perfect picture of the American dream involved having a white picket fence. And I don't have any data to back this up, it's just all from observation. But it feels like, at least here in the Midwest, that there are far fewer white picket fences and a great deal more chain link. Some Americans that I've spoken to seem to be of the opinion that chain link fences are kind of ugly. And I sort of agree, but if I put together a large enough collection of these fence pieces, I might be able to construct my own Hell in a Cell in the back garden, so that'd be fun. Anyway, we don't really use this style of fence much around British gardens, and from...
I'll be honest, if you see that in the UK, it probably means that they've got a dog. Or they've got some sort of animal in their garden, but you don't want to go through that fence because chances are there is a big dog there. And that's why the fence is there, to stop the dog from getting out. But in America, this is common, yeah?
Memory, this is the first chain link fence that I've had since moving to the United States. That's it for this episode. If you haven't had a chance to see the tour of my house, you can do that by clicking on this here.
Oh, maybe I need to check that out.
And be sure to subscribe to my channel so that I don't have to.
Interesting video, showed me a lot. The mailboxes, yeah, I already knew that part. Storm doors, that was interesting. But I know the weather in America can be a lot worse than the UK. Always enjoy checking out the videos and seeing the differences between the UK and America. But thank you so much for checking out the video. I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. It massively helps out the channel. We're growing. But for now, I'll catch you on the next reaction.